Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Old School Cannabis Project. For myself, Blue Skies, Smoke or Rich, and today's special guest, we're joined by Sir Piffington. Nice to have you with us, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, would you like to introduce yourself in any way or disclose any information about yourself before we get into things? You want to give your Instagram handle, maybe?
Yeah, it's Sir underscore Piffington underscore 420.
Okay.
Um, I've been growing for a little over 20 years. Um, Started when I was a lot younger. A few unsuccessful tries, but I stuck with it. I moved around a lot. Um, I ended up in New York, and one thing when you travel around a lot, you end up having to try to find connects and people to get stuff off of that's reliable. So it really wasn't working out sometimes on the prices and the people and things that you had to go through. So I decided to start growing my own and starting to figure out how to do that. And I was able to meet people, and when I was real young, I was scouring through, High Times magazines, cannabis culture, trying to find anything to know because I was like really into it. And, I really love the plant. So, I started growing pretty successfully. I started around about 2003. So, um, I spent a lot of time and energy learning and trial and error, messing up, and having a lot of people, back me and, support. And so I was able to keep going. And, I kind of just self-taught,
How old are you now, bro?
I'll be 42 this year.
Yeah, so we're pretty much in the same area. I'm 45 this year. I started growing properly like 1 year before you, so we're in that ballpark together. So, what did you start growing to begin with? What was the first thing you grew?
First thing I grew, unsuccessful grows, were basically bag seeds, some really good shit. I happened to come across seeds, I would save them. And so like I said, I moved around a lot. So I happened to be living in New Hampshire at the time, and there was I was kind of secluded out in the middle of nowhere. So I just started popping all these bag seeds outside and stuff. And the one place I had a bunch of plants out, and we ended up having to move from that place, and I wasn't able to go back and get my stuff. And so that was pretty rough. So the first three times was all bag seeds. My actual When I moved to New York, I was lucky enough to get um, up with a group of people who were very tight niche individuals, and somebody had just came back from California with some Humboldt County skunk and some mango and a bunch of other stuff. And I was lucky enough to be gifted some clones from my dealer at the time. And so I did the Humboldt County skunk, which was like really sweet skunk. It wasn't a real stinky, rancid skunk. And but very beautiful structure, uniformity, like perfect tops all the way around with a center cola. Very nice. The I believe it was Casey Brain's mango was
Yeah,
just
man,
real.
that's like the third thing I ever grew. Oh no, it was the
Yeah.
second. In my first three grows, I grew. It was my second, I think, man. I did
I loved
Casey.
it.
Yeah, Casey Brain's Mango is banging, and he's still at it. He's still going all this time. He started in 1979. I saw his page recently on Instagram.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just saw his page recently and he actually liked one of my photos. So that was really awesome. That was humbling, when you follow these people and you're like really young and you're like, I gotta get their strains, their genetics, and you just
well, the
happen to
dude's
get it.
putting out seeds the year I was fucking born, man. So props to him.
Yeah. Yeah, the OGs of the game. People don't know, and they sleep on them.
Yeah, and Casey Brains, man. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
like the first thing. I think the first thing I ever grew was
that's awesome.
Casey Brains Northern Lights and
Okay.
Casey Brains uh, Sweet Dreams. I think Sweet
Okay.
Dreams is a little bit mediocre, to be honest, but the Northern Lights was good. And then the next thing I grew from him was the mango, and that was great as well. I really enjoyed that one. Everyone
Yeah,
likes mango.
I enjoyed that one a lot. The problem was I wanted to keep it, but it just kept wanting to flower. So the clones that I had, um, I was keeping them, but also I was like kind of in the beginning stages too. So um, I ended up just letting them go, which was ended up being all right because I always wanted to grow his strain, and I got to grow his strain, and it was like something that it was not easy to obtain seeds. People don't understand nowadays. Back then, it was very hard.
Yeah.
Um, you had to find somebody that would have it sent to their place. You had to either find a credit card or you have to get an international money order, and sometimes they didn't go through. Um so yeah, I got to grow that, and I was super happy with that, and I was like, yeah. And the problem was is I was living in a part of city of Kingston, and I was like in the city, so the smell was like getting to my neighbors' houses and shit. And so my one neighbor was like, anytime I just want to smell weed, I just go to my bathroom and open up the closet door. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, that's not good. So fast forward a little bit, me and my friend, my friend ends up going to UVM. So me and my one buddy of mine, really good friend of mine, we take off to Vermont to go see him, but we're like, yo, let's go to Canada while we're seeing him and go get some seeds and shit and go get some bud and go see what Canada's about. So we take off, and he ended up leaving his license there. He had his college ID or something from New York. So I ended up having to drive across the border. So I'm like, all right, cool. So everybody's like Monk Boulevard, you got to go here, you got to go there. They're like, you got to go. So I already had a couple of people go to Quebec Seed Bank, and they're like, that's a nice place. You want to go there. So I went there in hopes to find Green Spirit. Honestly, it's one of my favorite strains when I was younger.
I
So
also grew that back in the day.
yeah, so that was one of my favorites. Like I had the luxury of getting some very nice phenos that were really like top notch, but they weren't really skunky, but they really got you really messed up. They were nice. So I'm trying to go up there and get Green Spirit, and I come across bubblegum Green Spirit, and I really liked bubblegum, and I liked Green Spirit. I was like, it's a perfect fucking combo. So I ended up getting up some big freeze as well. Maple leaf indica. My friend, I picked, he got heavy duty fruity, and then my friend
Yeah.
got something else from them. So I got, he got some type of Romulan cross. But so I got those two seed packs. He grabbed two seed packs. We hung out in Canada for the day, and then I ended up having to drive back across the border. Going across was, really cool. Coming back, they started, asking all these questions. Why am I driving his car? All this stuff. Where's his ID? All these things. And I'm like, oh, great. This is about to suck, and we're about to get pulled over. But no, they let us go through. Everything was cool, man. And that's when I actually got my first um real skunk. I was very surprised when I did the bubble K. Um, when you first grow something and you're young, you're always like, how's it gonna affect you? How's it gonna feel? Like, is it gonna work? Is it gonna be good? And when I grew that bubble K and I sat in my living room and I cracked that bud open, I was like, holy shit, my whole entire living room smelled like skunk. And I was just like blown away. I couldn't believe it. Like I've smelt skunk weed before, but I never actually was able to like get any amount of it, let alone, grow it. So yeah, that stuff like kind of like set it off for me. Like the big freeze wasn't able to come through. I had put them out in fields because I didn't want to grow in that place anymore because after the bubble K and the mango and the Humboldt County skunk, like my neighbors were all like, "Yo, dude." So I ended up moving out of that place. But that bubble K was pretty epic in this area for a while. I would literally walk into a room, sit down, break a bud open, and people would stop talking, and they would all look at me like, "What the fuck, man?" Like, I was driving in a car with my friend, and I was breaking up in the back seat. He was like, "Bro, is that your weed or is that a real skunk?" And so I was kind of on the hunt for something like that. After that, I had it for a few years, ended up losing it. Some things happened, but the so that would be my like next real successful one. I ended up getting a bag seed of Mazar off of my buddy, and I popped that. So I was doing Orange Skunk number one from the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
I was doing the Mazar bag seed, and then I was doing the Bubble K, and that was around. And that at that time it was probably around 2004, going into 2005.
Uh-huh.
And, I would ended up getting a trailer in a trailer park, And I went away on vacation, and I came back, and somebody had broken into my house and took a lot of my stuff, but they didn't take my clones, and they didn't take all the lights and stuff that were actually in packaged up in boxes because I was away. So I really thought I was about to lose that strain, but when I noticed all my clones were there, I was like, that's what's up. So I ended up having to move out of that place, and I actually that's when I decided to not really like associate with a bunch of people and let them come to the house,
Yeah.
because that was kind of a big thing. People would come by, find out what you're doing, and they would find out where you're going, what you're doing, and the next thing you know, you come home, all your shit's gone.
Bro, I'm not going to lie to you. Back in the day when I was a little more active, I got people who considered me a great friend, and they fucking didn't know my name. They didn't know my real name. I got
Yep.
friends. I got friends that know me for nearly 15 years and didn't know my real name and never come to
Yeah.
my house.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because there was a point in time I actually had like 6 or 7 different names, and I only knew about two of them. Like these one people would just stop by. I would go outside. I'd walk up the street. We would take a ride around the block. I'd hop out the car and walk. So next thing you know, I was talking to somebody. They're like, "Oh yeah, what's going on, Scoop?" I'm like, "Scoop?" They're like, "Yeah, that's what so and so calls you because they just scoop you up and then drop you off." And I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck?" Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, I had people that I knew for years that I wouldn't tell them my real name.
Yeah.
Um, always had like an affiliate or association. But it's funny because I go by eras of where I like lived because I traveled a lot when I was younger. So when I go back to different like time frames, I go, oh, I had like 4 or 5 nicknames there, 2 or 3 nicknames there, 5 or 6 nicknames there. Um, but yeah, so um, people don't realize, nowadays, back in the day, you had to be really discreet. If you're going to a grocery store, you usually didn't go in your car. You usually like didn't go directly home, when you picked up your supplies. You didn't really like order anything to your house. Everything was cash. Everything was very just nonchalant. You didn't really like say anything. If you said too much, you got kicked out the stores. It was
Yeah.
a different era.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ended up getting tired of a lot of the nonsense. I got tired of running out of product. I had people that wanted it. So what I was doing was I was getting up with a few good friends, and I would give them an offer, and I would, basically say, hey, I'll set you up on a grow. We'll do 3 grows together. After that, I'll leave you with a turnkey operation. And basically I was offering, to show them how to grow weed and turn them into my dealer, basically. So I ended up getting up with a buddy of mine, a pretty good friend, and he used to go to the city and get haze and different things like that. So we ended up getting a place together and started doing some stuff there. In the meantime, I was talking to another group of my friends that were living above a restaurant that wanted to do some shit. So I threw them a few plants. So they were doing some shit there, and they were pretty happy, and my other friend was pretty happy. And right at that time, a buddy of mine met up with this guy from the city who was really well connected, and he was up here as a carpenter, and apparently him and a bunch of his friends were growing a bunch of sour diesel, and they were growing Elvis and the skunk bud. It was a Northern Light skunk #1, but it was more of a sweet skunk, but it had amazing structure, absolutely beautiful taste, grew really well, had roots in 3 days, was a really amazing plant. And so my buddy actually was able to get those strains for me off of him and later introduced me to him. So I was able to get a cut of the AJ Sour at
Mm.
that time. So I had the AJ Sour, I had the Elvis, I had the Skunk, and then I had the Bubble K. Um, I had kept, and I was doing that, and started going really well. Basically, people were saying if you lived in New York and you weren't growing sour diesel, you're wasting your time. So I started in 2006 with the sour, and it wasn't like it was different because it was more sativa. It wasn't an easier strain to grow. It's something that you had to really try to take care of it. Whereas like the skunk #1 or whatever the SKB I call it, that was kind of a set it and forget it strain. Very easy strain to grow, very nice, beautiful structure. Um, and then the Elvis was just very nice strain, old school kick. Really enjoyed that strain. So I did that for a while and started becoming very popular. So I ended up talking to a couple more of my friends. So at that point, I had 3 of my friends going plus my own place going. and I would talk to a few people and hit them off with some plants here and there, and all I would ask for is some samples off of them and stuff. Um, a lot of people though never came through. A lot of people I'd give seeds to, I'd give clones to, and just ask for samples. Let me see, how you're doing and stuff. They'd take advantage, and I had people just always seeing me asking me for seeds and clones, but nothing in return, and that's all they would want. So I stopped giving stuff out so freely. But when I was gifted the sour and stuff, I was asked not to give that out. They were kind of gatekeeping it. And so I actually held on to that cut till about 2017, where I ended up losing it. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Um, so I had that for a while, but for a while I was having a lot of good stuff going on, but a few of my friends ended up not wanting to do it anymore, getting married. And one of my friends ended up getting kind of greedy and then was charging a lot of money. And then he started having inconsistencies. So we kind of had a falling out and I stopped going. So I lost quite a bit of my genetics when we walked away from each other because I wasn't living in a situation where I could do anything major. But I think he kind of knew that. So he kind of felt like, he could charge me more money and try to, play games. And, I asked for some clones and then he wanted to charge me money. And I was like, what, dude? I'm giving you everything for free. So, we walked our separate paths and, I started wanting to use some of my own strains because I had started doing some crosses, a while back. So, I started doing my own stuff and, I had some compliments. They were doing pretty well. So I had some stuff that smelled like gummy bears. It was like a blueberry bag seed that I had done. And we ended up calling it bushberry. And it kind of ended up smelling like baby poop after the cure. And a lot of people ended up dubbing that the baby poop. So I ended up crossing some stuff with the baby poop and they came out like some of them were kind of really stinky and some of them were really sweet. So I ended up with one like the gummy bears, and I tried to get that back from my friend, and he wouldn't give it back to me. And
I
there was a
hate
lot of
cunts like that, bro. I've got to say,
Yeah,
just
that's some
hearing
weird
that, I
shit.
hate these kind of
yeah.
cunts, man. That's why I
One,
stopped. That's why I parted ways with having anything to do with that fucking prick 47th parallel. Because he's an absolute cocksucker, just like that.
yeah, so I had gifted back in 2003 the Orange Skunk number one to a friend of mine, and I kept asking for a clone back, and he would ask me for seeds, and he was one of the people I'd be like, "Hey, listen, man, just throw me some samples. I want to see how they are." I gave him so I did the TGA's cleaner, I did like Quirkle, a few different things. I had seeds that I did crosses and stuff with that. I gave him that. I gave him a bunch of seeds, and all I asked for was my Orange Skunk back. And even to this day, he still has that cut and won't give it back to me. But he'll ask me for seeds and shit. So I don't even really like, you know, really, I just say hi and bye if he comes by my place of business because, I see him by default. But,
Yeah.
it really turned me on. Like, I'm pretty generous and these people are turning around wanting to sell me my own clones, not wanting to give me back my stuff. And I'm like, that's when I started really realizing how shady and grimy people in this game are. I mean, I knew way before that, because I had lived in Fort Lauderdale in a trailer park for a while, and it was just nothing but crime there. So I was exposed to a lot of hustling and shit early at an early age. But these people are supposed to be your friends. I've known them for years. I did business with them and shit like that. And they turn around and feel they got the upper hand and don't want to give shit back to you because they're hating, or however, whatever the case may be. Um, so yeah, so I dropped a lot of people. I don't deal with a lot of people. I want to deal with certain people, but at the same time, I like to kind of stay in the back in the cut. I don't like drama. I'll step in every once in a while, put my 2 cents in and leave it at that. But I like growing. I like the plants. I like different strains. I like new shit, old shit. I do see a problem with a lot of new stuff. I know articles I was reading, 15 years ago, asking breeders not to breed all the CBD and all the other plant constituents out, trying to get 30% THC with no CBDs and things that having a problem. I ended up having epilepsy, being diagnosed with epilepsy around 2011, 2012. And that's when I realized the plant actually had real medicinal effects to it. Uh, back in 2014, 15, I almost had a seizure. I'd stopped taking my medication because I was looking to get a job. So I was stopped smoking weed, but I didn't like the way that my meds made me feel. I almost had a seizure and I came home and I was growing some super silver haze and I wasn't smoking. So I'm like, yeah, let me smoke the super silver haze. I smoked a super silver haze, and within like 10 minutes, I started feeling like normal. I took like a couple minute nap, didn't even really go to sleep. I woke up, I felt like $1 million. I was like, this shit is real. I was like, this shit really has medicinal qualities to it. So that's when I really started looking to breed and grow and get more of the old school genetics, because I have a lot that I had collected over the years. I got so many old school genetics, and which brings me to I got up with the East Coast New York labs that does the tissue culture. And he said, he threw me a price and said, if you need me to help you germinate some of these old school seeds, dude, I'll help you. I got you. So, so I have some seeds that I haven't been able to germinate that were pretty old that I've been trying and I haven't been unsuccessful. I've cracked them. I've used sandpaper. I've done fulvic acid soaks. I've done, hydrozyme to help, soften the tissue to break down the cellulose. I've tried, a bunch of different, things and not successful. So, I'm looking to bring some of the old school back, especially medicinal qualities, which when I found out about you, I was actually looking to get skunk and some hazes. And, they're like Alaskan Catch and a bunch of other people, and your name had come up. And I was hearing about you and I was hearing controversy about you. But at the same time, I'm like, I know a lot of people, you'll get a pack or something. You'll find one plant in it you don't like and you won't do the rest, or you get a pack and you're like, yo, that shit's fire. I'm gonna keep that to myself and not say nothing, because a lot of people will get genetics and not say where they got them from. So I was like, you
Yep.
know what? You're gonna go do your breeding. You're short cash. You need money. You're giving out a deal. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna take a chance. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking for the good medicinal quality shit. I like good tasting weed. I like blueberry muffins, one of my favorite tasting strains. I like lots of different other stuff, bubblegum, pineapple, oranges and citrus and stuff. But I like the effect. I don't want to just smoke it for the flavor. Yeah, that's nice, but I need a good effect. I want something that lasts for hours. I want something that's going to hit the back of my eyes. That's going to make me feel relaxed. I like the daytime strains. I like the afternoon strains, nighttime strains. That's what I call them. I got my daytime weed, my nighttime weed. So come across yours, and so I wasn't able to get some of the seeds germinated. I was a little frustrated, but I gave a few seeds to my friend's father, who's been growing for 40, 50 years or some shit like that. And he had a couple that were able to pop, and I had a couple that were able to pop. So I was like, all right, I'm going to find out if this guy is for real or not. Let's find out. Everybody wants to say something, I'll find out. So my friend's father was happy. I had him mark a few of the stuff aside. I gave him G13 bubblegum. I gave him some Star Dog Crosswood, the deep purple I did. I gave him a few things. I had him mark yours separate. And he had one that was like this danky, musky ammonia smell. And he had a male, and he took that to that, and he gave me like an ounce of that. So I had that I was getting seeds off of. So at the same time, I was doing a different pheno that I had here. I kept coming home and I wasn't really thinking, I was like, damn, why, my house is smelling like piss. I'm like, yo, and I'm looking at my dogs, I'm looking around at the carpets and shit. And I'm like, and I didn't have my carbon filter hooked up. So I go in my fucking room and all of a sudden this stanky cat piss, skunk piss odor hits me. And I'm like, I forgot blue skies. I'm like, all right. So I hooked up the carbon filter. I put it in my living room. I put one into the room. And, I was walking out around side by my back door and I was like, yeah, it's definitely that blue sky shit. So I had that pheno I was doing. So I have one of those right now. It's vegging. I don't have a flowering, but I have a different one right now that's flowering. That is like a musky body odor, funky kind of fuel, kerosene, turpentine smell.
Yeah.
And that one should be ready in a few days. I'm interested to see how that does. It has a slight background smell of the last like cat piss, skunk piss smell.
Is
And
that different to the one you've posted pictures of yesterday that I reposted?
so that's what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one's less skunky. That's more body odor, fuel, turpentine, funky, musky, dank. Um, Not crazy pungent, but once you go up and you pinch the buds, and one thing I like is that they're definitely like nice, tight buds, and it has a nice lime green structure. What I would consider more of how that old school look was, and it has like that smell and that background smell. I can't describe it. The last batch of the cat piss skunk piss, I went to my friend's house for cards, play spades, and I pulled it out and I was like smiling. I let a couple of my friends smell it. They were like, "Yo, you got that back? You got that?" because they know me from back in the day when I had a lot of the old school strains. And I just smiled and I'm like, yeah, they're like, yo, that just smells so familiar. I'm like, yeah, it's got that old school smell to it. So the one I got right now has a little bit of that in the background. So it was either the same male or same female or something crossed with different, whatever happened. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, then I saw you were successful with your grow. You had some issues or whatever outside. You went over it, you busted your ass and did your thing. A lot of people don't do that. And the one thing I respect is for a while, I'm out here in, upstate New York, well, central New York, Hudson Valley area. And I had to do some, operations out in the woods and shit. And, it's a lot of fucking work, Your circumstance was slightly different. I had to crawl through fucking the woods and carry bags of dirt to fucking be careful and, run hoses and shit for water and try to figure out irrigation. But, you had greenhouses, but at the same time, you had primitive tools, you had limited circumstances, you had shit going against you, and against all odds, you didn't quit. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that. And I've been there and done shit like that before. So, when you talk about these new breeders nowadays, and you talk about people who go through what we had to go through back in the day, there's a different level to it. And a
None of
different
my
level.
grows have ever been easy, bro. None of them have ever been easy. Fucking
Yeah.
the
Out
last,
there,
the
going
last
out,
one, the last one just before the fire was a lot of work and it was spectacular results, but it wasn't easy. Do you know what I mean? And then
oh yeah,
the second one you're talking about, the polytunnels in Morocco, again, for me, it's always having to leave the country and be away from family and shit like that, and fucking have to live in strange places and in the middle of nowhere with fuck all. Do you know what I
yep,
mean? No, there's no grow shops around. There's nothing. You just got to fucking do the best what you can in that situation, you know?
yeah. You got your wits and you got your balls. That's what you got.
Yeah,
And a lot of people don't realize that nowadays things are more mainstream. It's a not more
in
relaxed, but
legal
the
states
idea
in
is there.
America, they got it easy,
Yeah,
bro. That's what we're
it-
saying. In legal
yeah.
states in America, you got it so fucking easy. Whereas
And
I've done everything in prohibition, and you've done everything in prohibition. You know.
yeah. So nothing against the newer generation and
I've
stuff.
only got it against them if they were too fucking
Yeah.
gutless to do it beforehand. If they were too
You
Nah,
young
see,
or they
the
just
newer
come of age,
generation's
whatever. But
retarded.
for all the
see,
people that shit themselves and wouldn't do it beforehand, you're a bunch of fucking pussies.
so the way I look at it as, there's always going to be that factor. There's always going to be the pioneers, and then there's going to be people that reap the benefits after. So, that is what it is. So, I can't hate on them as much as I can hate on them. You know what I'm saying? We did this to make it easier for the future generations. Unfortunately, they're just kind of unappreciative. They don't understand what had to happen for that to happen, which is just goes on throughout history and the world
Yeah,
in general.
yeah.
I mean, this is kind of how it is. So, eventually, maybe they will understand when they actually do it themselves, because there's a lot of, people who talk but don't do it. So, I just went to PIFCon and I'm outside and waiting in line, and, this guy's talking about all this shit about, hydro, all this, that, and the other thing. And I'm sitting here thinking, you don't grow weed. You just listen to what everybody says, and you're going off of what they say. Like, I was respectful. I didn't say it, but I'm sitting there thinking like, all right, bud, all right, you know, and there's a lot of that going on too, which back in my time spread misinformation, which you had to learn from trial and error. And nowadays, you can go on Instagram and find some successful people that are more than willing to share their information with you and not gatekeep. So on one hand, it's kind of like you lucky, and on the other hand, it's like you should appreciate it more. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand that. So, it's great because we're in a new era, we're in a new age. We got all these strains coming out, but one of the problems is that they all picking the same strains to grow and breed with. So I wanted to bring some of the old school with some of the new school, but also keep old school with old school. So I have some old school stuff I'm going to take with your stuff and keep old school with old school. And then I have new school stuff that I will be taking your stuff and some of my hybrids with your stuff too as well in the future. So I'm embarking on that right now. So hopefully, the new generations will start to appreciate the older school strains and what they actually have to the table besides just candy flavors, which are nice, you know what I mean. But when you get a certain type of dank, ranky, stank weed, it just stands out. It's not the same as a grapey dank. You know, you get that funk, and you're just like, fuck, that's like a rotten like basement mop bucket, you know, mixed with gas. You know, and those are the
So,
things that I look for. You know.
so there's the seeds that you've got. Were they like a Pheno Hunters pack or something?
All right, so I believe what you gave me the first time around was the Turk Town splashed with the Boss pack, right? It was like a 80-20 or 70-30.
Well, probably it was just Tip Town tickets, but I would have mentioned that around 30% of the total weight of boss seeds I had actually went into the Tip Town tickets one
Yeah,
night when I fucking just made a mistake. I accidentally poured
yeah.
them into the wrong fucking container.
So
And
that's what
so,
you gave me the first time around.
yeah.
So the second time I had seen that, you had a successful, I'm pheno hunting collector right now because I have some plans of some things that I want to do. And you had the frankincense, and you had like the blueberry mix and a few things that I saw that stood out. I love blueberry. I like different versions. I did DJ Short's blueberry, True Blueberry. I did some other companies' blueberries. The DJ, I didn't get it early enough. Everybody said the 95 and around that time was a lot better. So
Well,
I
that's
ended up,
what my blueberry is. It's
yep,
DJ's first blueberry after Old
yep.
Timer One and Vic High worked out as much of the hermaphrodism as they could.
Yeah, so that excited me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it another try. Older, it might be crossed, hybrid, whatever, but at least it's the older genetics. So I have like one true blueberry seed, and I have DJs that I crossed with Culiner from TGA, which is Jack's Cleaner, I believe, at Purple, and I got a few other ones that I had crossed. But so yeah, so when I saw your new pack, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some of those to put those on the side. So what I ended up with the original Terp Town from you gave as a gift, which was much appreciated. The Chinese lizard wine,
Oh, cool!
the
You've got that. You've got some more recent stuff. That's excellent. 'Cause the new menu
yeah,
stuff is looking
yeah.
awesome.
You sent me all right, so you sent me the blueberry mix, the frankincense haze, the Terp Town tickets, Chinese lizard wine. I might be missing one more. I'm pretty sure that's what I got in the new from you a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
So I will be doing some of those. So then I was thinking, you were pretty nice with the amount that you sent me both times, and I was like, I have quite a bit of followers. A lot of my genetics are untested. I didn't want to send them out until I had a few people grow them other than me. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do a giveaway, and I'm gonna, I put up a little poll, said, hey, I got some blue skies who would be interested, a few people said, yeah, I think I had like, I don't know, 55 or 60 viewers, but only like 10 or 11 said, yeah, I'll try them out. So I was like, all right, fuck it. So I went ahead, picked a few people, and I gave them your stuff to try and get your name out there a little bit more and get some of these old school genetics back into the gene pool. And so, hopefully, they get grown and they get some justice done, and get some more of that good stuff out there that's been missing. A lot of the stuff nowadays, people are saying has a generic effect and things like that. And I believe it's just because a lot of that stuff was bred out that, originally made it what it was. So everybody's looking for certain traits, but they're breeding out traits by looking for other traits. So, when your gene pool, I got to smoke some of it, and, it brought me back, hit right behind the eyes. Immediately felt relaxed. I smoked some lemon cherry gelato last night, and I just felt like a downgraded version,
Mm.
like I love the taste, but the high is not what I'm looking for. So then, I rolled up some of my stuff and smoked that, and I was like, a lot more content. So I'm actually really interested to see how this the one that I got that's more like body odor and kerosene turpentine, what that's gonna do. Because if it's like the last one, it's gonna be I might keep that one around for a little while. And then I'm gonna do a few more of the Terp Town, the frankincense from you. I have some seeds from other people I'm gonna do as well that should complement each other. We're gonna see, but that will be in the next year or so. I'm not in a huge rush. I got some things going on right now. I don't really like to do a big grow in the summer because it gets hot, and I got to use more of my electric and shit like that. I'm not really in a position to be doing that. I don't have a big place.
All right, bro. If you're able to, Rich can send another link because we're literally about to cut out, and then we can just have another little episode finishing up.
All right, that sounds good.
Sweet. Rich will get a link to you within about 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
Cheers, bro. Cheers, Rich.
Cheers,
All
mate.
right.